On the weekend of the 18th of July 2001, I had a date to keep with over 250,000 protesters, 15,000 police and the 8 most powerful men in the world. My name is Mark Phillips and I was going to Genoa. Now, I'm not the most political type, but I had decided to accompany a group of Irish protesters who were organising a bus that would take me through Europe over the Alps to the picturesque northern Italian city of Genoa. And it is there that a G8 summit and one of the largest anti-capitalist demonstrations was due to take place. Firstly, I was given a lowdown on how to deal with riot situations. Now let's take a look at the people I'd be travelling with.
Shut down the sweatshop! Shut down GAP! Shut down the sweatshop! Shut down GAP!
I first encountered globalised resistance when I'd gone along to a planned occupation of the River Ireland clothes shop in Grafton Street, Dublin.
Factory workers are subjected to forced pregnancy tests, forced overtime, exceedingly high production goals, locked bathrooms and wages of $4 a day. The workers were told if they tried to organise a union or become more informed of their human rights, they would be fired. GAP has repeatedly ignored pleas to improve the conditions under which corporate greed. Join our petition, sign up, you do have a voice and it will be listened to. Thank you.
Globalised Resistance is an activist networking group which coordinates actions opposing the growth of corporate power in today's world. Here I witnessed a minor confrontation between the activists and the guards who were unable to stop this disruption to Saturday shopping. I was impressed with their ability to coordinate themselves to get their point across, but the guard who weren't too impressed with our attempts to record the occupation.
You have no permission to take footage of inside the shop. Turn off the video camera please and leave.
I felt slightly apprehensive on the day of departure. I was beginning to wonder what I had gotten myself into. A few weeks previously, a protester had been killed in a similar demonstration in Gothenburg, Sweden, but I decided it was probably best not to think about that for now. The G8 are the 8 most industrialised countries in the world, and the leaders of these countries were meeting in Genoa to discuss their economic and political orientations. The protesters, on the other hand, believe this to be undemocratic and view the G8 as arrogant politicians attempting to govern the planet while pandering to corporate needs and ignoring people needs. As soon as the bus arrived in France, we encountered our first obstacle, the French port authorities. They knew we were headed to Genoa, so they detained us for 3 hours and intensively searched us, our luggage and our bus. This surprised and annoyed me because I thought we lived in a Europe with more freedom than that.
Well, I've never seen security quite like this. The thousands of police that we've seen in Gothenburg and we saw in Nice before that have been outnumbered here. We've got 20,000 police and the fortification around the high security red zone is of a sort that I've not seen before.
Okay, we've arrived in Genoa. We've just literally gotten off the bus and we've been thrown straight into one of these demonstrations. We're not exactly sure what's going to happen, but just let's go and find out anyway. But already straight ahead of me I can see large billows of smoke which can only indicate trouble, but of course that's where we're going, so we'll just see what happens.
Oh, you just fucking launched indiscriminately, like. You just launched off. That shit stings like fuck, like. Honestly, God.
I was witnessing a confrontation between the Italian police and a group of protesters. The police had begun to launch tear gas into the crowds. An Italian journalist was hit in the head with a tear gas canister. Things were beginning to get a bit dangerous, and so I decided it was time to retreat. We've left the main part of that ride for the time being. I think we're trying to get back to it in some way, but via a safer and less busier route. Bit of an eye-opener, I think, for all of us. I don't think we were expecting that sort of action so soon in the trip. Main worry for me, especially at this stage, is the fact that we lost all of our Irish contingent. There were continuous minor skirmishes occurring around the city between the police and the protesters. The police were out in force and were obviously prepared for any eventuality. I received word that a protester had been shot dead by the police, and so I joined up with a group of English protesters and began to head away from the riots we had just seen. But it was hard to predict where more trouble would start. At this square at least, I found much more of a festival atmosphere, and the police and the protesters seemed to be on more amicable terms. This web was constructed as a symbol of the protesters' unity. As you can see behind me, this is one of the main barricades that is sealing off the actual area where the summit is going to be held. There's a heavy armed police presence. They actually seem to be getting ready to do something or other. I also encountered the Black Bloc, activists who were willing to use violence to disrupt the G8 summit.